Today, we're going to talk about what it really means to step into the next chapter of life with intention, energy, and joy. In today's episode, I'm thrilled to be talking with Amy Goober, a woman who truly embodies the spirit of reinvention and possibility after 60. From leading women's retreats to helping others take action on long-held dreams, Amy is proof that it's never too late to begin again. We'll also talk about the beautiful new book, My Mother Always Says, 25 Lessons for Finding the Silver Lining, which she co-wrote with her 93-year-old mother. It's a heartfelt and inspiring reminder that wisdom, joy, and perspective only deepen with time. If you've ever thought there's more that I want to do, you are in the right place. So let's get to it. But welcome to this episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with our guest, Amy Goober. In today's world, older adults face major transitions like downsizing, relocating, or modifying their homes to age in place, all while embracing life after these changes. As a senior home advisor and seasoned realtor, Robin McCoy guides these decisions with care and thoughtful planning, helping create a vibrant future. Welcome to Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60 with me, your host, Robin McCoy. So, Amy, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. It's exciting. I love to be a guest on a podcast. It's actually one of my favorite things to do.
That's fun. That's fun. This is, I started doing this a number of years ago, and it's just, I just find it a great way to learn something new and share ideas and just, give people a couple things to think about.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. You are in Boston, and you term yourself an action coach. What does that mean? We've heard all the coaches, this kind, that kind. What's an action coach?
So it makes perfect sense that you don't know what it is because I made it up. So I can tell you. So I've done many, many things in my career, and I'm 65 now, so I've had plenty of time. But a little over 6 years ago, I was turning 60. And I, at the time, was a health coach for a big nationwide organization. And I had a big team. I coached hundreds and hundreds of clients. I was very wrapped up in it. But I really wanted to do something that I created, which I had done earlier. My first business I started when I was 26. I opened a cake bakery in the Newton, Massachusetts. So I know people aren't ready for that usually. But anyway, so now, and then I did that. I sold it, and I stayed home for 20 years raising my 3 now adult children. So I've done many, many things. But so I had this health coach gig, and it was full-time, and it was very all-encompassing. However, I was turning 60, and my youngest child was going away to college, and not that far away. And we were very close because she was 6 years younger than the second and 9 years younger than the first. So, she had been home alone with me for a long time, 6 years of just us. So she was almost like an only child in that way. So anyway, she was going to college kind of close by. And I said, I have to come up with something that I can totally get immersed in, or I'm going to be kind of on top of her, and I don't want to do that to her. And I was turning 60, and I kept saying to myself, you're going to be 60. You're not going to be 40. You're 60. We shouldn't be waiting around. Right. It's a good time to get in gear. So long story short, my older daughter, who at the time was 26, was trying to help me and said, what do you want to do, Mom? Who do you want to serve? What's your goal? Which is such a role reversal, right, for the child to ask this.
I was going to say, that sounds like a lot of coaching questions that...
Yeah, she's incredible. So anyway, I knew I wanted to work with women, serve women. I knew that, so that was easy. And I looked around, and I really felt like most women were pretty happy with their lives. But almost everybody was talking about doing something they hadn't done. It could be clean out the attic. It could be start a new business. It could be go on a trip. It could be make new friends. It could be read 10 books. I mean, it could be small, medium, or large, but they were lose 20 pounds, right? It could be anything.
Right.
And they just weren't doing it. So I said, okay, so what they're having trouble with is the action part of it, is the getting in gear. So I named myself an action coach because life coach to me is too broad, and most people's lives are good. They don't need a new life. but they do need to get into action. And I think the reason why we don't, and maybe you have something in your mind that you want to do, is women, I believe, are very other oriented.
Yes.
It's really easy for us to care about and love everybody else on the planet. It's harder to do things for ourselves and redirect things at ourselves because we tend to feel guilty, don't we?
Yes.
Oh no,
Yes.
I want to do what you want to do, right? So,
Right.
long story short, I created a program called Drive Your Life.
Okay.
And it was right during COVID, so it was a virtual small group coaching program. And I had, 8 women in a group for 8 weeks, 1 hour a week, and I taught them a process of getting into action that worked for everything. Everything.
Interesting.
And they were
Okay.
doing it during the class. Because I really wanted them to say, I started at 0 and now I'm at 5, or whatever the number scale is.
Right.
So that's how I started as an action coach, and that was 2020.
Well, and I think, you hit the nail right on the head. I've had several guests on this podcast that have said, just in different ways, that, and sorry guys, this may be very female and women oriented to our to our male listeners today, but think about the women that you love in your life and think about what maybe they may need, because like you said, you spent how many years home raising your kids, doing your thing, and it's not like you didn't want to do that. That was what you chose. And now, after all that time, you're like, okay, I'm not raising children anymore. I'm real happy, but I need something for me now. And the number of people that say that is, and the things you read and all of that say that's what women need when they turn 60. It's almost like there's this switch at 60 that says, okay, now what?
Yes. And again, I think that we're rusty. Like, we're out of practice asking ourselves what we want because we're so other oriented, right? So I have clients, one-on-one clients or group clients or whomever I might be speaking to, and they say, I don't know what I like. I don't know what I want. So I have them start with 2 columns on a piece of paper, or they can put it in their phone. I like, I don't like. And I tell them, just start. And it could be, I like pink, I don't like purple. I like pizza, I don't like chicken, right? Little things, anything. I like my hair blonde, I don't like it dark. I like it, whatever. And so they start flexing the muscle of asking themselves, what do they like? And I've literally had one-on-one clients say, this is so hard for me, I don't know the answers.
And that's pretty scary, isn't it?
Yes.
When you can't identify 5 things that you like.
Right. And even scarier, just to go sideways for a minute, is part of our program is looking at what you have inside. What are your traits and skills you have that maybe you used 20 or 30 years ago that you forgot about, but you still have, because traits are traits and no one slurps them out of you.
It's all who you are.
So it's so interesting. And so I think for a lot of women, when we talk about make a list of your positive traits, they're totally stuck. They might come up with 1 or 2 and then, I don't know. Well, I don't want to say that. Yeah. And then I say, okay, if you're challenged by this, what would your best friend say about you? How would your best friend describe you? And at that point, it becomes a little easier for them to say, what would my best friend, my best friend would say, I'm really nice. Or my best friend would say I'm loyal. Or my best friend would say I'm determined, or whatever the thing is. So, so women have a little ways to go here to be able to, number 1, ask themselves what they want and what they like. And number 2, remind themselves what they already have inside.
So I think, I was going to ask kind of, talking about getting into action, the number 1 action step most people think is important, but may not be. I mean, so we may not think about what we like or what our traits are, but what do some people think is most important that really isn't important?
I think one of the challenges is that we do it all. So we are multitaskers. So we just decide we're going to do something, and we take on a big, huge, giant thing, clean out the attic. I'll just tell you right now, I never would have moved out of my house if my husband hadn't cleaned out that attic. I would still be in the house, because that is something I would never do. I would just keep saying I was going to do it, and I would keep thinking I was going to do it, and I probably would keep talking about it, but I wouldn't do it. So I think sometimes we just make things too big. So I always tell people, whatever you want to do it for 30 minutes first. The very tiniest, littlest first step is a junk drawer. It's a,
right?
Silverware drawer, right? And when 30 minutes are up, you're done. Go do something else. So that the next time you say, okay, I'm only going to work on this project for 30 minutes, you really believe it because you've been true to yourself. Don't get immersed in and do it for 2 hours. 30 minutes. And so I think the first step is really important. But again, women don't necessarily have all the confidence that they can do these things. So I look at it, confidence as like a layering process. Okay, I did the junk drawer. What am I going to do next?
Can I do the bedroom closet?
Right. And now we're talking about very tangible things. What about something else? What about a woman who says, I want purpose? I either need to work or I don't need to work. It almost doesn't matter whether you're looking for a job or volunteering. It's the same process.
Right.
Now you have to start for 30 minutes, sit down and say, what do you like? Here, we're right back where we started. What do you enjoy? Right? What do you want? What do you like? And that's a process. The concrete things are a little easier. The junk drawer, the attic.
Right.
These sort of vague, kind of fuzzy things are more challenging. But it can all be done. Because I had a woman in my one of my first couple of Drive Your Life programs that was literally like very smart woman, but found herself sitting on the couch. Mm-hmm. She was a lawyer. She was smart. She'd raised children. She was kind of sitting on the couch. She found herself sort of immobilized. And by the time this program was done, she was volunteering at 2 different organizations. She was making jewelry. She was doing all these things because she needed, number 1, the support. Number 2, the process. And number 3, the other women in the group. Like I learned myself by doing this that small group coaching is magical.
Yes, especially with women.
With women. Because by the middle and the end of it, they're now helping each other. There comes a point where I can't get a word in because they're not coaching each other.
Well, that's good. You know, I think sometimes we need permission to go do or be something different than what we've been.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or, whatever that looks like, right? We need permission to say, yes, I'm an attorney, but I want to make jewelry now.
Right.
And that we need permission for that. And when you say support, sometimes our family and maybe the friends that know us every single day don't understand why that's important to us.
Yes.
So finding a group of people that don't necessarily know and love you, that you can be differently vulnerable with.
Right. And that comes to another point, which I run big women's events in the Boston area, and mainly because women, as we get older, and there's no age, ages put on the website, but as we get older, our circle, I think, tends to shrink.
Sure.
And we don't know what to do about it because it's been so long since we've tried to make new friends. It was a long time since college. For me, it was 40 years. It was a long time since our kids were younger and we were building community that way. And your kids grow and you're looking around and you're saying, well, this friend retired and that friend moved away and this one's watching their grandchildren or whatever it is. And your circle shrinks. And so I create these events just to create connections and to remind women that it's okay if we're rusty. You can say to the woman next to you, you live 20 minutes from me. Do you want to meet for coffee sometime? Or do you want to go for a walk? Or see you next time. See you here next time. So I think that's the other thing that women are a little vulnerable to, which is the circle shrinking. I don't know if you find that in your world.
Definitely. And it's, and it comes down to, just like you said, I personally have a friend that watches her grandkids. Right. I don't have grandkids. I don't have that. So so it's hard to relate to that. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's not that we don't see each other. It's just, we see each other when it fits both our schedules, not just mine. We Are One Heart is a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to bridging the gap between the needs and resources of low-income seniors and veterans. Rooted in compassion and love, our mission is to provide housing, living assistance, and access to critical resources that ensure dignity and support for the elderly and underserved communities. At the heart of We Are One Heart's work is the belief that every individual shares a common humanity, a heart connected through love and care. We are committed to creating a future that honors those who have shaped the past by offering programs and services that enhance their quality of life. For more information or to donate, visit wa1h.org. That's WA1H.org. But I do find that, so I'm 61, I'll be 62 this summer. So I find that my compatriots in this age group have said it's just really hard to meet social friends. Right. I can meet business friends every day. I can go to every networking group, and that's not my problem.
Right.
My problem is finding other people that want to do what I want to do.
Right. And I, again, the event, the Better Together events I run, the audience is women. I call them just women, which is hysterical, right? We're not just women, but I say that meaning it's not a networking event. Are there women-owned businesses that sponsor this? Yeah, there's 25 of them in the room out of the 100 women. Yes, they're there. But the audience is really looking for what I call just women for the same reason you just described. There's tons of business networking events because they call it that. What we need is meet a friend event. Get a coffee, make a coffee date event. That's what, and I do run 2 meetups, and we do that. We meet for coffee, we meet for lunch, just so they can talk to each other. I put them at the table, and it's amazing what happens when you say, okay, let's all talk to each other. They absolutely love it. They're not nervous, they can do it, but they're nervous till they get there. They're nervous.
Well, yeah, because women, I think, have an incredible ability to just create connection.
Yes.
The hurdle is getting around the same table to do it.
Well, right. And carving the time out, and we're all back to the confidence, So I also run trips. I have a travel group called Wandering Women. And why I'm bringing it up is because the women have to speak to me before they can sign up. Like, there's no click your deposit online. They see the whole website. They have every single piece of information, where we're going, the itinerary, what's included, the cost. Everything is on there. But at the bottom, it's a contact form. There's no deposit link. And so they have to speak to me. For the reason is that it's small group. I want to speak to them, and I want them to know what they're getting with me. I'm not a travel agent. I'm a coach, and I put trips together, and I want them to hear. So anyway, the reason why I'm saying all this is that almost every single woman that ever had that first conversation with me said, this is kind of out of my comfort zone. I don't know. I've never traveled with people I don't know. This makes me a little uncomfortable. And so what I say to that is, I'm not going to talk you into anything, because I'm looking for people that are looking for me. I am not trying to wangle somebody. But what I say to them is, what is the alternative? The alternative is you stay home. And if you're good with that, then that's what you should do. But if you keep telling yourself that you want to travel and you want to meet women and you want to get, out of your sort of circle, then you do have to nudge yourself a little bit, and you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Well, and I think part of it too is a lot of times women, they're over 60, and oftentimes they find themselves single again for a variety, or single still, for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
And so they don't know that they can travel without people they know, right? Yeah. It's not a concept that that not that they don't understand, but that doesn't occur to them, right?
Yeah.
What do you mean? I can go to London with a bunch of people I don't know? I've never done that before. And so I think it doesn't occur to them that this is even an option.
Well, and again, I think that we insulate ourselves a lot. There's a lot done at home now that wasn't before, right?
Right.
You don't even have to go food shopping now. You can
I
have
don't.
Your food delivered. You can have your movies, your everything comes to you. If people that work, many of them are working from home. So again, we've really insulated ourselves. And so what I say to people is, it's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to be uncomfortable. What's the alternative is you stay home. I say the same thing about the meetup dinners and lunches.
Yeah.
So you're a little nervous. So you don't know anyone. What's the worst thing that can happen is you go to a dinner and you're so turned off, you get up and leave. I mean, nobody has ever done that. But listen, you have to
But you still have the option of going home.
Or
Always have the option.
right,
of
you
going
didn't like
home.
it, never go back. None of these things are, you're not marrying someone, none of these things are permanent. These
Right.
are ways to like test the waters and just realize that I do so many things that I'm uncomfortable with. I'm uncomfortable and then I do, and I say, this is why I did it. So it's a way of challenging ourselves.
Well, and I love that because again, we get to this age and whether we're looking at retiring, right? So what is my retirement going to look like if I am not retired yet? Again, we find ourselves, maybe we're single, or maybe our partner doesn't want to travel with us. Maybe
Right.
they do want to stay home.
Exactly. Many women have that.
And then and it was a few years ago that, I took a trip of just for myself, and I went by myself to walk the Camino in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked my husband numerous times, do you want to go? No, I don't. I'm making a plane ticket. Do you want to go? No, I don't. Do you want to go? No, I don't.
Yeah.
So I went by myself.
Wow.
And it was, the point was to see what I was made of, to see if I could do this, to, all those things. And it did. It showed me what I can do.
Yeah, amazing.
And so often if our partner or our friends don't want to do it,
yeah.
we just go, okay, maybe that's a dumb idea. Maybe I shouldn't do that.
Or maybe I'm afraid. Maybe I don't
Or maybe
want
I'm
to do it
afraid.
alone.
I was terrified. I'm not going to lie.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
fine up until I got the day to get on the plane, and
No
I'm like,
kidding.
what the hell am I doing?
Right.
I was terrified.
Exactly.
And it was just a breaking it down, right? So it's like you say with the calls that, oh, this is so unusual. I don't know.
Yeah.
I told myself, you know how to get on an airplane. Just go get on the plane. You know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so sit there for 8 hours. You can do that. Each step was just, okay, the next step. And it made it easier. And that's the same way with this travel. If they know they can go home, and I don't know where your trips go. I don't know if are they?
Yeah, all over. I mean, we've done a lot in the U.S. We've been
Okay.
to Cancun. We're going to Quebec. We're going to Punta Cana. We've been to Italy. We're just sort of branching out into Europe. But yes, they can always go home.
Yeah, it's not like even if you fly to Europe and you go, I hate this, you could
You go
change your
home.
flight and get on the plane and go home. So there's always an escape hatch. I guess that's
Exactly.
what I'm
There's an
saying.
escape
There's an
route,
escape
yeah.
hatch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So talk about this book a little bit.
Yeah.
So you wrote a book with your 93-year-old mother.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I found that intriguing because, we think about the things our parents always said to us.
Right.
One of my dad's was, in every life, a little rain must fall. In other
Right.
words, quit being, what's with the pity party over here?
Mhm. Right.
Or, the things like, I don't think anybody promised you fair when you got here. Those sorts of things. And my mother has a bunch of them as well. So tell me where this came from and tell me about your mom.
Yeah, I'd love to. So, my mom is 93, and I found myself always quoting her. I mean, I guess I would quote her throughout, but in the last 5 to 8 years, I really found myself, not just with clients, but just in my life. Well, as my mother would say, my mother always says, it was just so natural. It was just because they were so pertinent, and her sayings are not like, don't forget your lipstick. She's had a very interesting, amazing life, captivating, really. And she has a way to boil things down to a phrase. And so I just said, Mom, do you want to write this book together? And of course she said yes. So, she's 93 and we just published her first book. I thought 65 was old.
I was going to say, so see, it's never too late.
It is never too late to try something new. I don't care if it's a new food. It is never too late to try something new. And the sooner the better. What are you waiting for is one of my phrases. But
Yes.
yeah, so we start this book and we've got these sayings and we, whittled them down. And then we had, she gave her version of it and I gave my version of it. We had examples and we thought we were done. And I was like, okay, we're done. And then she said, I really think we need my story to weave it together. She was 100% right. So now now we're done and the book is published. But the way the book is laid out in 12 chapters is each chapter starts with the memoir part. She says, I was born in 1931 during a polio epidemic, and my older sister contracted polio while my mother was in the hospital having me.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Oh my
So
gosh.
She comes home with a new baby and has a 4-year-old with polio. So what do you think happens to the new baby? The new baby gets shoved aside. They had like cousins and teenagers taking care of my mother. What, you know. But anyway, so it's all in her voice, and then it's the lessons learned. So during that time of her life, what were the lessons learned? And then she talks about the lesson, and I do. And I'm very transparent about, you know, things in my life, challenges in my life, things that I've been through. And so it goes forth from there, but just like sort of kind of the net is, and I like to tell this, even though it's a little bit of a spoiler alert, I think it really hopefully makes your audience want to read this book, which is, so my mother was born, first of all, in the Great Depression. Who do you know? Who have you?
There's not very many of those people still here.
Yes. So she was born in the Great Depression. And then she talks about her life, which I won't go into, but when she was 42, my father died. So now I'm 15. Young. She's 42. So I'm a young, someone whose father died when she was young, and my mother's a young widow. And she ended up, my brother and I were about to go to college in a few years, so she ended up going back to school, to social work school, to get her master's in social work. Okay. She already had a master's in English, but okay. And for one of the papers, for one of the projects, that she had to create a program. This was in school. She was a 42-year-old student in a master's program in social work. And she creates on paper this bereavement center, which they didn't have then in the late 70s. They had bereavement, right? People died and mourned. They were mourned.
But they did that really at the funeral home and during the wake and at the funeral, and then that was it.
Right. There were no support groups for that kind of thing. It wasn't talked about. So anyway, so she writes this paper and she shoves it under the professor's door, and the professor calls her and says, you've got to bring this to the family service agency where you're working, right? Because she was an intern. She was also a 43-year-old intern. And so she gives it to the director, and she's about to graduate. And she's at the end of the program now, so maybe she was 44 by then. She gives it to the guy, the head of the place where she's an intern. And the guy reads and calls her and says, okay, we're going to do this. This is fabulous, and you're the director. Like, okay.
Are you 62 or older and considering buying a home? It's important to explore all the opportunities available to you. I want to introduce you to Alicia Dutton with Mutual of Omaha Reverse Mortgage. Since 2013, Alicia has been dedicated to helping baby boomers unlock the benefits of reverse mortgages and reverse for purchase programs. Whether you are looking to stay in your current home or right size into a new one, Alicia provides personalized attention to meet your unique needs and timeline. She is a trusted resource for financial advisors, realtors, and loan officers, and has been a guest on this podcast. She is ensuring you are educated and empowered every step of the way. Discover the possibilities with Alicia Dutton today. All right, then. I guess that's why she was getting her master's.
Right. So the real sort of finale of it is that she did that, and she created this bereavement center, and it was very successful on Long Island, about an hour from Manhattan. And then 20 years later was 9/11. And she
I just got chills.
I know, me too. And she then was poised. She counseled hundreds and hundreds of 9/11 widows and families, hundreds. So now, and she's 70 when her career took a huge boost. So I guess it all comes back to one of the lessons, which is there are no bad experiences in life, just the ones you don't learn from, right? So she was a young widow. I mean, she had a lot of bad things happen, right? But it all sort of took her forward to be poised to do that work.
And what important work that was in that time, right?
Yes. And even now.
Oh my gosh, I'm just getting kind of.
Yeah.
I'm getting a little worked up about it because, I just think about the number of people that she impacted and then how that carried on to their children and their grandchildren and their family. I mean, the ripple effect of just her being who she was at that
Right.
time,
Right.
that
Right.
ripple
Right.
goes on forever.
Yes. And I think, she still has a few clients that she counsels by phone now. And some of them are she's still in touch with some of those 9/11 widows and
Wow.
some of the children. And, she will say they just didn't think they could go on. They
Yeah.
thought their life was over, And so, anyway, I guess it all comes back to the book and the lessons and the positivity and the inspiration. And that's really how it's laid out. It's not like sunshine and rainbows. It's about, look, when tough things happen to you, and she has had, and I have had tough things happen, what are you going to do about it?
Right.
And so these lessons really get you moving forward. It's there's a lot of synchronicity with it. But anyway, so
Yeah.
so that's
No, I think it's great. We're going to make sure now, so that people know, it's called, as my mother always says, 25 lessons for finding the silver lining.
Well, there's no as. So it's my mother always says. You might have an as there, but it's not. It's my mother always says. Yeah.
My mother always says
says.
25 lessons
For
finding the silver lining.
And it's, of course, on Amazon.com. It's also
We're going to put a link whenever we share this. We're going to put it in all the descriptions. We're going to get that link out there.
Thank you.
Because I think here's one of the things that intrigues me about actually all of this, right? Everything you do, it's creating stories, right? It's creating memories. It's creating experiences that can then be shared, right? I think a lot of the stories that the older, especially generations of your mother and my mother, our parents, those generations, their stories are getting lost.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
In our electronic, instant gratification, quick meals, all the things that is in our world today, all those stories are getting lost and forgotten. And, the one my mother would just always say, Grandpa always had a melon under the bed to cool. They lived in rural Arkansas. It was hot in the summer. You didn't have air conditioning. He had a pump, a water, pump in the kitchen and an outhouse, and kids today, even my nieces and nephews who are in their 20s, have no concept of living that way.
Well, they have no concept, I think, of the physical challenges.
Yeah.
Because everything's in our hands.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, immediate gratification. And I also say, even when people ask about the book, is that, our influencers today have a lot of flash, right? They're young.
Yeah.
Do you see old influencers? No, you don't.
Not as many.
See women, our age. So my age or your age. So anyway, so I if I were going to follow someone's philosophy and someone's ideas and someone's lessons, I'd rather have it be someone who's lived life, who's been through life and had to deal with challenges, instead of someone that has some cool something. So that's what I say, is that the book really is something that I think has great value for any age range.
Well, and imagine this now. So you've got your into action groups, you've got the wandering women travel groups, and think about the experiences now that they're having.
Yes.
That they can now go and talk to their kids and their grandkids about.
Yes.
And showing that just because you're 60, 65, 70, whatever, that age is just a number. It doesn't mean anything.
Right.
That you can get on a plane and go to Italy with 10 women you don't know and have an amazing time.
Or you can stay home.
Or you can stay home.
So I think that's really the thing. And so I mean, you and I are very in sync here on what we believe and what we think. And I think, as I always say, it can be small, medium, or large. It does not have to be go start a business. These people, most women would crawl under the bed before they would do that. It does not have to be big. I do big. You don't have to do big. Right. You can do small. What is small? You go to a yoga class and the woman next to you smiles at you and you say, "Hey, do you want to go for coffee after?" That's big to some people, but
it's really big to some people.
Life, it's a small thing.
Yeah.
Right. A medium thing is you go take a class, you go on a trip, you do something that's way out of your comfort zone. And big is you make a big change. You get out of a bad relationship, you move, you start a passion project. That to me is big, something that really filters through your day and it doesn't have to start big, but don't not do anything, because I really think the things we regret in life are the things we don't do.
I believe that and that's one of the things that propelled me to go on the Camino. I had talked about it and talked about it and talked about it. And actually my business coach said, Robin, are you ever going to do this? Have you even bought a pair of hiking boots?
Good for her.
And I'm like, no. She goes, set a date. When are you going?
Yeah.
Because until you set a date to do whatever that is, the yoga class, ask the person to coffee, start a business, move across the country, it just is this thing you want to do. It's not, there's no time frame on it.
Yes. Yes.
So if your mother had a microphone right now and she was sitting here, what would she say to all of this? What would she say about you? What would she say about the book? What do you think she would
Yeah, I mean, she often, she has a few lines. She says, I gave birth to Amy, and Amy gave birth to this book. She loves to say that. So she does say that.
I love that.
She talks a lot about there are no bad experiences, just the ones you don't learn from. And I think her philosophy could be sort of boiled down into whatever you face and whatever you have to go through, there's something on the back end of it for you, and you will get through it. And then I always add, but you won't see it at the time.
Right.
Like, did she know when her husband was dying and she had 2 teenagers that she was then going to get her master's and counsel 9/11? I mean, she couldn't have possibly seen that.
No.
So I think that a lot of times we lament about bad circumstances, don't we? We do.
Yeah. And we worry about what if, you know, what if I can't do it? What if, we worry about what the actual outcome is when we really get the experience, the knowledge, and all of that in the process of it. So when we detach from outcomes, like your mom I'm going to go get my master's in social work.
Right.
Detach from the outcome of what she's going to do with that.
Yes. Right.
And it was something in the process that created the thing that she was destined to do.
And you'll never know. You won't know what is coming out of a bad experience when you're in it, because you're just trying to get to the other side.
Yeah.
So forget about that. Don't even think about that. But as you move forward, it comes back to what we said at the beginning. Think about the skills and the traits you have that it took to get through that bad thing, and what in there can you use? What in that like soup of traits and skills that got you through whatever that bad thing was? Was it determination? Was it, that you had great friends? Was it that you have stamina? Was it whatever? I don't know. I don't know what it was, and I don't know what the thing is.
That's a great. That's just the way when you said it the first time I heard it, but when you said it the second time I really heard it.
Yeah.
There are traits inside of you that when a spouse dies, a parent dies, something tragic happens. I moved around a lot when I was a kid. We moved every 2 or 3 years. So now I can pack up all my stuff and go wherever I need to go, so that skill set that was built during those things I hated, being the new kid every 2 years, takes me where I am today, probably puts me in front of this microphone, right? That sort of thing.
Exactly. And my mother did move around a lot when she was young, and she said the same thing. She hated it when she was doing it, but looking back on it, she can see that it gave her a lot of resilience and being able to sort of reinvent herself or whatever. So I think that's the other thing is looking at things with like I wonder what's going to come from here. What's going to happen when I go to that yoga class? What's going to happen when I say yes to somebody for something? Like, what could happen? What could happen?
I think it's that phrase, not, what might happen or what bad. I mean, it takes as much energy or more to worry about what bad things could happen as what good things could happen. I mean, it's the same. Right. The brain synapses are still firing. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
So what would you say to someone who maybe it is, they're saying, it's just too late. It's too late. I'm too old. I don't know. What would be just the short answer to what you would say to kind of get them motivated?
I would just say, if not now, when?
Yeah.
If not now, when? And why not?
And why
Tell me all
not?
the reasons why not. And then there are some people you just can't motivate.
Well,
There are just
yeah.
some people that tell themselves a story, and part of it's probably the way they were raised, of, the voices in their head say, you can't. What do you mean? There's no way you can do that. You can't. So I
Yeah.
don't give up on people, but I'm saying you can only, one of the lessons in the book, a spoiler alert, is, and I love this for this exact conversation, you can't put your head on someone else's shoulders. I can't, and I do work with people, and believe me, I do. But have you ever tried to convince a friend or an adult child or somebody to do something, and it's right, and you have 1,000 reasons right, and they're like, they're just not doing it.
Not doing it.
So
Nope.
they're either not ready, or it's not for them, or whatever. So you can't put your experiences and your knowledge on someone else's shoulders. And
I like the way
happens-
that you phrase that.
Yeah.
You know what? That makes it easier to just stop trying to make somebody do something
Right.
when it's clear they're not going to.
Right. And who knows why and who knows what. But so you try and you try and you try, and you go and you go and you go and you say and you say, and then at some point you say, you can't put your head on somebody else's shoulders. My husband's not coming on the Camino Trail. There's just no way he's coming with me. Fine, I'm going, or whatever it might be.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly right. He has absolutely no interest in doing. But I was one of those people for a long time that said, well, if he doesn't want to do it, then not that I can't, but I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And then I realized I was missing out on things just because he didn't want to do something. And so that becomes, and he doesn't care that I go, he's like, no, go. But I needed to let that go, that it was okay to do something without my husband.
Right.
And that was a Robin thing.
But there you go.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you so much, Amy. I want everybody to go read your book.
Thank you.
And because go look at her website and the classes and the things that she does, because it's, this sounds dramatic. It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Right? Because giving yourself permission to explore something, big, medium, or large, or small, medium, large, I guess is the way that goes. So what is one last thing you would say to our listeners before we let them all go? Yeah,
I mean, not to be sort of negative, but I would just say life is short. Go do the things. Yeah. Don't wait around. I mean, there's just don't do it. Don't wait. Do what you want. And I guess lastly, I would say it's okay to ask yourself what you want and go do it. It's okay for your voice to be heard. It's okay for you to decide where to go to dinner. I don't know. Where do you want to go? You decide. It's, get comfortable realizing that you do matter, you are important, and start doing. Because if not now, when?
I love that. There you have it, folks. There it is. So make sure you go and read the book and make a list. If you do nothing else today after listening to this, make a list. What do you like and what do you not like? And see how that goes for you. I'd be interested to hear from anybody that actually does that exercise and what you found. So thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Relax, I Got This, Embracing Life After 60. Thank you, Amy. And make sure you hit that subscribe and share button so we can keep sharing the good word. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to Embracing Life After 60 with me, Robin McCoy. This podcast is produced by Jen Sariano with special thanks to the amazing team at Relax, I Got This. You can find more episodes on YouTube and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow, and share to help us spread the message. Until next time, keep embracing life to the full.